Do 70% of all organisational change initiatives really fail? Is a 2011 article published in the Journal of Change Management and written by Mark Hughes. This article explores and disproves the supposed statistic that 70% of organisational change initiatives are unsuccessful. Through the analysis of several articles which perpetuated this myth through broad sweeping statements and misinterpretations of literature, Hughes is able to successfully debunk the idea that such a large number of change initiatives are unsuccessful. He also discusses the parameters to which success of change is defined and how the individual opinion, beliefs, and values can determine whether a change initiative is viewed as successful, and explains the lack of empirical evidence supporting the supposed statistic. As we as a class begin to understand organisations as a whole and the strategy and subsequent formulation and implementation of change initiatives, it is important to gain an understanding of the challenges, setbacks, and commonly held beliefs about change in organisations. This article provides some context for organisations who are hesitant to change and an understanding of why such beliefs have been held for so long. The article poses the two main questions that provide the foundation of the discussion. What are the origins and supporting evidence for the 70% organisational change failure rate, and what academic arguments challenge the concept of inherent organisational change failure rates? Through the exploration of 5 articles and then challenging the utility of using inherent failure rates, the questions are explored with specific reference to the role of ambiguity, context, perception, time, and measurability. From this, Hughes is able to draw the conclusion that there is no valid evidence to support the idea that 70% of organisational change initiatives. He finds that the first instance of this idea referred specifically to re-engineering in a subsequent book to Hammer and Champy's 1990 article, Re-Engineering Work, Don't Automate, Obliterate, where the authors made an unscientific estimate that is not a statistic, nor does it imply complete failure. Yet from this, an entire ideology about organisational change failure was born and continues to be perpetuated. When discussing challenging the concept of organisational change failure, Hughes effectively explains that whether an initiative has failed or been successful cannot be easily decided due to the highly context-dependent nature of organisational change initiatives. He also proposes change as an ongoing process happening over time, raising questions as to what point in time an initiative can be marked as successful or not. Other issues discussed include that change initiatives are being measured in isolation, which is an unrealistic expectation due to most organisations having many change initiatives overlapping to the point where it is difficult to gauge where one ends and another begins. This article should assist in changing predispositions against change because it is supposedly unsuccessful or too hard. While change and management of this has always been difficult, negative biases against change can create a toxic self-fulfilling prophecy, where if a small indicator isn't reached on a change-based project, there is a tendency to abandon the entire project quickly. Despite Hughes' convincing and logical explanation of the falsity of this number, esteemed articles still draw upon this figure. In an article published on McKinsey & Company's website in 2015, the broad and unreferenced statement is made that 70% of change programs fail to achieve their goals, largely due to employee resistance and lack of management support. It is imperative that this attitude towards organisational change is altered and further scholarly articles done into what defines an organisational change success and how this can be discussed in academic literature. Subsequently, Hughes' article, Do 70% of all organisational change initiatives really fail, provides an interesting insight into the misinterpretation, exaggeration, and wide acceptance of supposed statistics without empirical evidence that can be damaging. He proposes that perpetuation of this concept may be tied to consultants who use this to legitimize their services, or an unconscious collusion between academics and practitioners. He has then argued that not only is a 70% failure rate a myth, but that it is not appropriate to classify change as a failure or success under a variety of criteria.